get the same. Like you it feels like every game is like a lot different. Like you don't have consistency.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that accurate?
Yeah, I think that's the big thing right
Okay.
now is like because I'll have a lot of games which
Okay.
are like this where I'm just dropping like
Okay.
so many kills and it just feels like really strong games. And then I'll have games like the second one where
Mhm.
I think it's like I'm either like not in the right headspace or um it's like I'm just having a lack of confidence because of like one play I did or
Okay.
something. And like this lost game, the second one you're looking at
Yeah.
right now, like this is really rough to watch. Um yeah, and I'm I'm kind of curious kind of like what exactly is going on
Okay.
here.
Yeah. We'll take a look. So first things first, I just get online on something. No matter what, even if you play the same matchup and your
Mhm.
level of play is the same, you will
Mhm.
naturally get a wide variety of games, and that will affect your input into the game as well. So what do I mean by that, right? First things first, when I look at these comps, this comp is objectively way easier for Azir to get into the game than this comp is. And let me explain why, right? You've got Seraphine Taric. This is a very stable bot lane. So what do I mean by stable? Very hard to get ganked, very hard to die to ganks, insane wave clear, insane scaling, insane self peel, right? So they're very stable early into the game. There's no shenanigans that's going to happen realistically early in the game, right? Especially against a Lucian Rakan, right? We look at the jungle matchup. Yes, the jungle matchup is quite volatile, but Briar is one of the strongest early game skirmishers in the game, right? So she will help pull the difference that Azir struggles with in the early game, right? Now we look at top. What do we see with the top matchup? Top is very stable, very hard to be killed. Even if he dies, the game doesn't change too much. He can still do his job, right? So when I look at this game is very well set up for Nazir to get
Mhm.
to do what he wants, right? So already this is a game where your inputs is going to matter a lot, right? Now let's compare it to
Mhm.
this game, right? When we look at this game, we see what do we see? Extremely volatile top matchup, right? Very volatile top matchup, right? What do we
Mhm.
see in the jungle? Vi, a ton of gang threat, right? Especially post six, especially compared to Viego, right? J4, not really the strongest pairing with Azir, right? Because J4 is a setup champion. So he wants damage
Yeah.
in mid, which is not really that great early game, right? And when we look at bot lane, a very unstable bot as well, right? Very limited self peel, limited mobility. They're playing two champions that need to get a lead in lane against against a support that wants to get a lead in lane, right? So when I just compared the landscape of these two games, this game is going to be much more difficult to have good inputs compared to this game,
Okay.
right? So that's the first thing you need to
Yeah.
recognize is like, yes, I do think, especially at MLA, we teach like, putting 100% accountability on yourself, yada, yada, yada. But it's important that you understand the type of game you're going to be in before you even play it, right? Like when I look at this game, I already know that you are going to have way more input, which it's a double edged sword, which means the better you play this game, the more you're gonna feel it. All right, and the worse you play, the more you're gonna feel it. And this game, it's kind of it's kind of way more volatile, right? It's like you if you make one small mistake, the game might completely end. But if you can be playing well the whole time and not much can happen, right? Just by the nature of the comps. So that's something really
Okay.
important that you recognize yourself when you go into these games. Because what I don't want you to do is 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 have misguided confidence, right? Like maybe you feel like you're unconfident because you felt like you did something bad this game compared to this game. But my argument is that your level of play, especially because you're your main, doesn't fluctuate that much. It's more of the type of game you're in, and the difficulty of the game you're in fluctuates a lot, right? And so you're feeling that
Okay.
feedback, right? Because if this game
Mhm.
is a way harder as your game to play than this game, guess what? You're gonna feel like you're making more mistakes in this game because it's harder.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And especially in the second game, it's like I made a few mistakes early and
Mm-hmm.
then I think I was like I went into like that bad habit of mine
Yes.
where I feel like I'm forcing plays
Mm-hmm.
to try and like fix the game even
Right.
though it like I really need to just not do anything
Yep. We'll take
and
a look.
it just made it worse. So,
Okay. Yeah. So okay. First things first. When I take a look at this lane, when you're playing against Echo, if he starts Q level one and he Qs the wave like this against any champion, you shouldn't be using your auto attacks on them. And the reason being is because Azir is really bad at last standing under turret. So what's gonna happen if you use auto attacks on him is that the wave is gonna push in too fast, and you're gonna get pushed in under turret, right? So I think what I would do if I were you here is when the second you see him use the Q on the wave, go for auto attack if he's in range, right? But if he's not in range, you should be autoing these casters the whole time here, right? Because you want to prevent the
Okay.
push, right? So this whole time you see they're clicking back here. This whole time we
Mhm.
should be hitting the casters.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Against any champion that's a lot of pushing power early game, that's what you want to do against Azir. You want to kill a caster minion.
So, would you recommend this into, like, Zoe? So if, like, a Zoe walks up
Yep,
and, like, cues the
Zoe,
caster.
Talia.
Okay.
I guess Echo if he starts a Q.
Okay.
Yone.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so when you have bone plating, it's very, very important that you don't get a procs by his Q, right? So I can already tell you're putting way too much emphasis and mental stack on hitting him with your soldier, right? As
Yeah.
your early game is a reactive champion. So what I mean by that is your trades are based off of you dodging stuff first, right? And using your range. So
Mm.
you need to be autoing at max range, or if you're not going to auto at max range, you better be prepared to dodge a skill shot first, right? So if it gets a Syndra, what I would do is place a soldier down instead of instantly auto attacking, sidestep her Q, right? Because she thinks you're going to auto attack.
Okay.
Then you go for a trade, right? Or
Okay.
if she's out of your range or out of her own range and you know she's not in range of you, then you spam auto attack. That's how you want to be trading as Azir in these types of lanes.
Alright, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because now it's kind of sucks because he has Halo Blades and you have no bone plating now. So it's gonna be really rough to survive a trade here. Yeah, yeah, not great. Yep, have the wave come in. This is good. Skim forward a little bit here. Pretty straightforward. I think your wave management is quite nice here. Okay, let's take a look at this. Because your team is going for an invade. Now, again, you are playing Azir, so it's difficult for you to help. Um, okay. I think if it were me here, what I would do is just thin this wave a little bit, right? Now,
Okay.
it is very difficult for you to move to this play, I agree, but we want to have options, right? Always give yourself some options. So what I would probably do is, yeah, just thin it a little bit so it's still on your side. But that way, if your Briar goes for a play, you actually have the option to move if you have to, because now you have no choice but to stay mid,
Yep.
right? Because
Oh,
there's too
okay.
big of a wave here, right? So because there's too big of a wave, there's absolutely no way for you to ever move to this play. But if you had done that wave earlier, maybe you could quickly nuke out this wave and you can move, right?
Yeah.
And just protect your Briar a little bit. And the play shit, whatever, you just go back mid, right? You don't lose anything. Yeah, kind of a disaster. Tempo resets. Yeah, I like the tempo reset against Echo. Makes sense. What happened to our mana bar? Oh, I see.
I tried get
Oh
I
yeah,
was, like, trying to get in range of the cannon
right.
XP, so yeah, it's a bit rough.
Yeah, I think we
I
definitely
li
need some spacing work on his E, right? You get hit by a lot of his E's. Um, so this would be the same thing, right? Notice how you're using your W, but he's in range with his E. So I would place down the W because he thinks again, what are you gonna do? Auto attack, right? So he's
Uh-huh.
gonna run up for the E. So one thing you could do is here just place your W and just run, right? And then he burns his E, thinking you were gonna auto attack him. You space out the E. Now he's on cooldown and you can hit him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the second game, I just get punished like crazy for stepping up too far, and it just really makes the lane really rough.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, fast forward. Prior, maybe we'll set up a gank. Whatever, doesn't work. Take a look at this play here. Because she's invading again. We have level 6. One thing when you're playing against Echoes, you should always trade R for R, by the way, always. So right here, you should push him into the turret. Now, the reason why you want
Okay.
to do that is that Echo R is way better than his 0 R early game. Why? Echo wants to be proactive early game. He wants to snowball early game. His R enables him to do that because he can be very proactive in skirmishes, right? Now, Zir is perfectly fine scaling. So you making Echo weaker early in the game benefits you, right? So it's you always want to trade your R for his R. Just R him to the turret. He gets chunked. He's forced to use his R. Now he's very vulnerable to getting ganked. He can't really dive you under the tower anymore because yeah, the tower will hurt him. Right? He can't really roam as easily without R. He can't base and R back in lane. So yeah, you should just always trade your ult for his in this matchup.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because this is exactly what I mean. If you had R, or like if he had no R here, he would just be at this much health, and he can't lane now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Diego comes through. You're baiting for your Briar. Uh, okay. Well, I think you're not. Oh wait, hold on. How much of this yours ult? Isn't it 100 mana, or is it 150?
It's 100.
Yeah, because you have enough for your R here, so no reason to place your W down, right? You could just push them into your Briar here,
Yeah, that's true.
right? And he's dead. He has no R,
I honestly was not looking at my mana bar that much that
right?
closely, so my thought process is like, okay, well, he just burnt ult.
Yeah.
Is like I saved my ult, and now I can just come back to this fight, and we can just win this.
Yeah. And so, by the way, this is what I mean by stable, because we actually looked at the early game. Was not a clean early game, right? Their Echo
No,
moved to 2 different plays and killed Briar twice, but we're actually still winning skirmishes because, again, our bot side comp is just super strong together, right? We have high
yeah,
synergy together, bot. So what I'm probably going to see in the next bot is the same thing's going to happen early game, but because you have a completely different composition that's not stable, if they fall behind, the game is going to end on the spot.
yeah, that's pretty much exactly what happened.
Okay, our R usage definitely needed to work here. I think, in my opinion, you're way too patient with the R. I would have actually, instead of clicking back, step forward by 1 inch and then push the echo in with your R. In my opinion, because he still doesn't have R for a little bit here. I don't think. Actually, no, he does have R. Never mind. They just came up. So actually, yeah, I don't mind this actually. I think maybe on the stun though, I would have R'd because I'm not confident he was gonna die there from the stun.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It's yeah, it's just really sloppy.
Yeah, and I think
Uh,
also here you probably could have R'd the Rakan W as well, so you didn't need the flash, right? You could just, or like you could have R'd the Rakan W first to save your Seraphine, and then you could have flashed out afterwards, and Viego would not get the reset on your Seraphine.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you decided to go for another dagger. Interesting. I guess you're going Berserker Greaves.
Yeah, I've been messing around with it a little bit.
Okay.
It's it's more of a feeling thing for me,
Yeah.
I guess, because it's like I really really enjoy the attack speed, and it
Yeah.
feels really good to have.
Yeah.
Even though I know like damage wise, it's gonna do less.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Um,
fine.
yeah,
Like the only
But I'm
reason
like,
I'm gonna comment on it is because I think that Azir is a champion that needs his first item ASAP. So if I were you, I would buy an Amp Tome instead of a dagger here anyway, because I want to rush my Nashers. And then if you want to go Berserkers, then that's fine.
yeah,
I,
no, I
I
agree.
I think that would be my only critique. But I think if you want to go Berserkers, like that's totally fine. I don't really care. I think it's good, or I think it's fine.
Yeah, I'm like the damage is really not that much of a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm noticing again here is that we're not quick enough to respond. So when there's plays happening in the side, so one thing that's really tricky about is here is you want to play defense as your offense. So what I mean by that is you don't want shit to happen early game, right? And we don't want to sacrifice waves and stuff like that, right? It's really
Yep.
important that you maximize your farm as a Zero. And that's something I talk about a lot. But what you also don't want to have happen is the enemy like snowballs out of control and the game ends before anything happens, before you can scale. Okay. So the way you want to
Yep.
do that is you want to be you want to be aggressive with your defense, if that makes sense. Like imagine like in a sports game, right? Like the defenders they run to the midfield to like push the ball back or something, right?
Mhm.
They're not trying to score, but they're trying to play defense up here before shit goes down. So the way I want you to view Azir is just like that. So I still want you to value your farm. I want you to value your life, right? But I want you to be quicker to these plays that are happening and just be in the area just in case something goes down. And if the play looks dog shit, you go back to mid. It's extremely important you do this as Azir. Very, very, very important. So and
Okay.
this so like what I mean by that is this particular scenario, I'm fine with you pushing this wave like this, right? But the second you see your team start to move in, I would start moving now, right? Like right now your
Okay.
click should be like auto attack, click, auto attack, click, auto attack, click. And if you have to like lose one creep or whatever, that's fine. And then already start walking into this location. Because I want to be
Okay.
here up in midfield to defend.
All right. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
And if the play again, if the play's bad, fine. You just go back mid, you're fine, you have mobility, you got R and E, it's totally okay. Like I don't know if I probably wouldn't have made a difference in this particular play. Actually, maybe it would have, right? You would have been here like now, probably, right? You would probably already be at this play dashing in, right?
Yep.
Which that was look how close that was, right?
Yeah.
Every single second matters.
Yeah, you're right.
In fact, it probably still did matter, right? I think Briar would have been way healthier there if you were there faster.
Yep. That's a good point.
Okay, you got Nashers, come back. This should be a good fight. They don't have ours, and you have Nashers. You just kill everybody. And again, referencing the stability, your comp is extremely good 4v4.
Yep.
Your core
Yeah,
4v4 is
I
insanely
definitely
good.
felt it later when I was like, wow, this bot lane is
Yeah,
just so ridiculously strong.
yeah. Okay. Are you? Do you want to look at anything else in this game, or do you want me to look at the next VOD?
Just look at the next VOD.
Okay.
The next one, like it's just so bad.
Okay. Let's take a look. So it's gonna be a lot of the same things I was just talking about, right? Um, don't like your setup that much because I don't think you have bone plating, do you? No, you don't have bone plating. Yeah, I don't like the setup. I guess I am a big bone plating hater. I think this rune sucks. But there's two champions in the game I really want bone plating against. Those two champions are Fizz. There's three. Those three champions are Fizz, Ari, and Echo. Now, why those three? Because and LeBlanc. Those are the four champs that have very powerful level ones. Okay, so
Yeah.
in order to prevent the level one from fucking you, you need bone plating. So, in my opinion, yeah, you should definitely take bone plating, and then just work on your spacing on his Q so you don't break it right from his Q.
Okay.
That we talked about in the first VOD. But either way, I mean, if you're getting Prio in the lane, that's great. I mean, this is exactly what we want. We do want Prio for sure. Not the biggest fan of taking Q level 2 as well. I think E level 2 would be way better. Because when you're playing as Zero, you want 2 points in W by level 3, right? So I think it'd be much better if you had WEW rather than WQW here. In case something like this happens.
Yep. Yeah, in hindsight, I was totally thinking that. Like even in the last VOD, I was like, I took Q right when he was about to go in into me. I was like,
Yeah.
I should just take an E.
Yeah. Okay, he based. Yeah. So this is again something really, really important. This is something I actually struggle with a lot too. When you're playing against a champion that can roam very easily or has strong roaming potential, it's like somebody who wants to get priority, they can easily kill somebody if they roam. You need to match their base ASAP, right? So you're playing against Atilia with wall. If you're playing against a TF, if you're playing against an Echo, if you're playing against a cat, what you want to do is called tempo matching, right? And what that is exactly what it sounds
Hmm.
like. The second they base, you need to immediately match their base. So right here, you don't see him showing on this wave, right? You need to immediately press recall right now. Even though this isn't an optimal base for you, you need the base because you need to be back on the map ASAP so he doesn't push a wave while you're in base and then roam, right? Now, if you're against like a Victor or an Anivia or some shit like that, it doesn't matter because they're not going to roam. Or if they do roam, it's very weak.
Okay,
So like
that makes a lot of
if
sense.
you're against that Anivia, I'm totally fine with you like being a little bit more slower and reacting to what he's doing, right? Um, but here, like you're already way too late because now by the time you base in TP, actually look at what happens to the wave, right? The wave is crashed onto your turret. Well, it would have been if he pushed, right? And he could have
Yeah,
potentially roamed if he wanted to, right?
yeah. So, okay, so into these roaming champions,
Yes.
like, let's say he pushes the wave and goes to ward,
Hmm.
and then he decides to recall. So you're saying I should just recall and then see if he responds to the wave and then just stay?
Yes. So
And
basically,
then if he doesn't respond to the wave, I just recall.
yeah, pretty much
Okay.
always what you want to do when you're playing these matchups is recall when they're recalling. That's basically the
Okay.
key
Yeah.
because you want to be on the map at the same time as them. They can test the priority. That's that. That's the main thing, right? So like maybe if you're hard destroying them and you don't need to reset, that's fine, right? Like the key is just you need to contest priority. That's it.
Okay.
It's like you're no Q. We need to contest the priority really hard here. Mm. Not a fan of this trading pattern either. I think you're way too conservative with the E. When he jumps on your head like this, I would just WE him right here, right? WE on top of him. Get the extra soldier, get the
Yeah.
E damage, get the E shield, right? Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that.
I'm not either.
Okay,
I know I think I was like a little bit frustrated going into this game
okay.
preemptively, so
Was there a particular reason why that is?
let me I can it might have been a game before or just life
Right,
having an impact at this point.
right.
Um when was blood? No, I just could have been multiple factors, so
Yeah, right.
I think it was mostly life having an effect on my gameplay.
I understand. So yeah, this is the same thing as we were talking about before, right? Trade R for sure here.
Mhm.
Um, Also, we need to be contesting priority. Your team is literally making a play. Okay, like this is really, 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 really important. Right? There's a big play happening bot. Okay, so
Mhm.
again, defense is offense. Even if I have to trade my HP to take a shit trade against the Echo, that's fine because if I can push in this wave, this is going to prevent him from doing what? Going bot,
Yeah.
right? Which is benefiting you. So it's
Yeah.
extremely important here that, especially when it's Q's on cooldown, we got to be hitting this wave. Hit, right? Hit this wave, hit this wave, hit this wave. Save the here, hit the
Okay.
wave. You gotta
Yeah.
gotta nuke this wave in. Right? Your team's on Drake, hit the wave, hit the wave, hit the wave, right? Hit the casters.
Yep. Okay.
We're pushing way too slow here.
Yeah.
So this is what I want to be really clear on, man. When I watch both of these games, your level of play in both these games is actually really similar. It's just this game, I have a feeling, is a much more difficult game than the previous game. That's it. But your level of play in both of these, at least looking at the first 8 to 10 minutes of the game, is nearly identical, right? Like you're making the same mistakes, obviously, in both of them.
Okay.
So that in a weird way should actually help your confidence because you have to remember your it's not that your level of play is changing that much from game to game. It's the difficulty of the game you're in changes a lot, right? That's just what it is.
Okay.
So your goal is not to look at it as, oh man, I played this game so bad or so well. I want you to look at it as, okay, in this game, what was my job, right? What was I supposed to do? Um,
Okay.
okay, when we take a look at this, pretty rough game to anticipate. Um, oh man, I think
I
if
think it was
you're,
like a very tiny window where I could have
yeah,
ulted her,
that
but it's
well, what I was actually thinking
yeah.
is the second you see them portal in, I would act like this is a very hard play to spot, but I would have actually flash ard them up, like flash down, ard them back over here really quickly, like before Vi can channel her R onto you, and maybe go for WE out after. Like maybe that was the only thing I was thinking
Me
of.
yeah, I didn't have W up. I think I totally agree with you. I think I would go for something like that if I had a W. I don't know where. Oh yeah, I put the W behind me. Never mind. So yeah, no, I could have done that.
Yeah, I think
I
that
feel
was your
like in
best
that
shot.
I feel like in that instance, if I do that, then the Echo Reap used his E, and then if he sees me flash alt them, then he's just gonna come back and dash, and then
Yeah,
EQ me, and I'm just dead. So
yeah, yeah. Fair enough.
I was kind of
Fair
hoping to get a
situation.
window where I can alt her, but I just couldn't get it. I was
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah, so this sequence again talking about the difficulty of the game. This is just a hard. This was just echo. Sorry, Bard specific. So you just need to be aware when you're against a Bard. Very easy to get ganked on mid, right? Bard is very good at ganking mid. So there's
Hmm.
something for you to know is that yeah, against a Bard you got to be super aware of where he is, right?
Okay. So what's if you had to point out one big thing that's wrong with this matchup,
Yeah.
what would it be?
It's the way you're playing the waves, right? I think that's the biggest
Okay.
thing. You're not thinking of, you're not thinking about what Echo's gonna do once he pushes, or you're not thinking about the consequences of it, right? I think that's the biggest
Okay.
thing is what happened because he keeps pushing, and then he's getting either a free reset, he's getting a tempo reset, or he's getting a perfect ward, or he's going to roam and kill your bot, like that first game. This game he hasn't done it yet, but he could have done it this game as well. And the first game he definitely did, and that almost lost you the game, right? So I'll say that's the biggest thing is that I think just not even lane specific, just for your Azir in general, I want you to have the defense as offense mindset, like we talked about,
Okay.
right? We need to be getting those waves in against these heavy roaming champions and fighting for the wave. As a mid laner,
Okay.
your job is fighting for wave control as much as you possibly can. Now, some games it's not possible, right? Like if Bard shows on mid, right? Yeah, you can't push in a wave, but then they're not making a play in the side if they're mid, right? So there's always a trade off. So like when I look here, right, you're way too trade oriented, right? Notice how you got the wave in, and you're already postured to Q him, right? If we actually look at it before he even E'd you, you're ready to
Uh-huh.
Q auto him. Like look here, you the Q
Uh-huh.
autoed him. But what I would have done is the second I push him in, immediately ward and play defensively because I know I'm already doing my job, which is preventing him from roaming because the wave is under turret.
Hmm. Okay. Yep.
And that's just matchup specific, right? Again, if you were against like an Anivia or something, I'm much more happy with the way you'd approach these games, right? Which is like very lane centric, trade oriented stuff like that. But yeah, I guess Echo that just doesn't work, which is why you're struggling.
Yeah. That probably explains why I struggle quite a bit with Yon
Yeah,
because
you have the same
I'm
play.
thinking I I'm thinking about trading with him more than actually playing the wave.
Yeah, that's right. Especially
Okay.
with your level playman, it's one thing at a time, right? The strength is yours, and you can do both, but it's very overwhelming to do. So I think at first, what you really need to do when you want to level up your Azir, um, is start high level and then zoom in more and more. So at a high level, what's my job in this matchup, right? And again, like we talked about against Echo, you want to keep the wave on your side when it's convenient, stack waves, and keep priority when your team is about to make a play, right? Like at a high level, that's what you want to do,
Okay.
and you want to deny trades, right? But notice how none of that high level is I want to destroy him in lane with my trades and get a lead, right? That's
Yep.
not even in my dictionary in this matchup.
Yep.
And yeah, and so what we're noticing is that he's roaming a lot. Thankfully nothing has happened yet. with his rooms. You can actually make a play bot, which just looks very good. I mean, I would just WER down,
I
just push him back. I think your angle could have been way more loose. I think you went way too tight with your angle. I think I would have went like
yeah,
this, right? Because then you would cut off more
yeah.
distance.
No, this was just so bad. I was so tilted from this.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I was
Yeah.
like, in hindsight, I should just I think I knew, like, initially to go further down, but I just didn't,
Right.
and then it just went so poorly, and then I'm getting pinged, and then yeah, I'm kinda checked out a little bit
Okay.
at this point.
Okay. Okay? So do you want to keep going in this VOD, or do you think you're good?
No, it's okay. No, I think it's good. Like,
Okay.
at this point, it's the game is very much out of my
Okay.
control because I was very sloppy.
Yeah, and to be honest, this game should have already been lost before that point, if that makes you feel better in an ironic way, because you gave Echo so many roam timers, right? In
Yeah,
reality, your team should have already been fucked anyway beforehand. So
yeah,
if you put it in perspective like that, yes, like you did blunder your mechanics, but in reality, I think it was more a high level of the matchup was the issue at both of the
okay,
bots, right? Just again, the first game was a way more stable game. So I think something that will help you a lot for your own sanity is understanding the type and difficulty of the game you're in, right? I think that's really important that you understand, like, okay, like actually with these champions in my on my team and on the enemy team, how difficult is this game? Like, how much input do I actually have in this game, right? And as you can
mhm,
see in the first game, you made, in my opinion, you actually made more mistakes in the first game than you did this game, right? Maybe they weren't
mhm,
mechanical mistakes, but there were other mistakes. But because you have more input in the first game, you were able to come back, right? Whereas this game, you made one micro blunder and a few wave blunders, and that lost you the game, right?
yeah,
So your input mattered a lot, like a lot more in some ways, right? Like a lot of the smaller things matter a lot more in this game. So it's really important that you understand the type of game you're in, right? And then the second thing is what I really want you to do is before the game starts, I want you to think at a high level, what do I want to do in this matchup, right? What's my job? What's my goal in the matchup? Like ask yourself, okay, in 8 minutes, what is a good lane for me, right? So when I think of Azir versus Echo, if I can say even in CS, don't die to gangs, don't die to Echo, and I don't let him roam, that's an S plus lane, right? That literally means that's a flawless lane, right? Whereas
yeah,
if you were playing against a Kale and that was what you did, that would be like a D minus lane, right? Even though the same exact thing happened, the result is the same.
yeah,
Because of the
100%.
champion interaction, it's completely different.
Yeah,
So it's really important that you think at a high level what type of lane do you want and what's your job. I think the third thing that I think we need to just make sure we're aware of is making sure that when you're playing, especially if you're playing difficult champ like Azir, is that you're playing at 100% intensity, right? Because what I think I noticed throughout this VOD you were talking about how like some of these moments, some of these games you were feeling tilted or checked out or your IRL, right? Which I understand. My IRL has been really rough recently as well, so I totally understand where you're coming from. But just remember that's going to factor in into your level of play. So don't be in this mindset where you're beating yourself up for it, right? Because I think
yeah,
that's something that it sounds like you struggle with. Is like you really put too much blame on yourself and you feel really bad about yourself. The reality is you're playing a difficult game. You're playing literally the hardest mid laner in the game, and you have IRL shit. Like you're doing a good job, man. Give yourself some credit. You've climbed a massive amount already, right?
yeah.
Don't feel like, oh man, I'm such like a piece of shit or like fuck this, right? Because
No, it's just like I just came off of the high of just
yeah,
like climbing so much
right.
LP, and it's like, man, what was I doing differently there and
Mm-hmm.
then now? And it's just like I was just like a much more confident in my ability.
Mm,
And then I think I took like a few days break, and then
mm,
like I came back, and it's just like, oh my goodness, it's like
right.
I just can't get into the groove again right
Right.
now. So yeah, no, I really do appreciate that. Yeah,
Because what I will say is that you might be getting placebo in the wrong way, whereas like you feel like, or like whatever it's called, non-placebo or whatever the hell it's called. It's like you feel like your level plays were like worse than it was. But honestly, when I watch this gameplay, this looks like the you like I would guess masters low masters gameplay when I watch this, right?
yeah,
So I have a feeling that uh like this has just been your level of play for a while. It's just maybe because you're getting I think it's more of a matter of like you're getting better at the game, so you notice your mistakes more. I think that's actually just the reality of what it is. right? Because
Yeah.
taking a break can actually make you see things more clearly, right? So like
Yep.
think like this: if you're winning every game and you're on a high, you're not going to be able to look at it objectively and clearly, right? You're gonna
Uh-huh.
like so. I think honestly, what it is that your level play isn't actually fluctuating that much. It's more of like just your perspective. You feel like it is, but in reality, I
Yep.
think you're totally fine. I think you're playing at your level of play right
Okay.
now. So there's that layer to it. Um, what else? Was there anything else in any of these games that I wanted to talk about? I mean, there was like some small laning things as well, like just in general, like putting 1 point in every spell at level 3, not really ideal. There was like the rune setup, the spacing part, yada yada yada. I think those were like smaller things that we'll have to work on just over time as you play more and more games. But yeah, besides that, that's really the main things I want you to work on. It's just like, sometimes it's important to just have a sanity check, right, with
Yep.
yourself and be like, you know what? This is actually just a really fucking hard game. The comp is very volatile, right? I made a few mistakes and move on, right? Or like
Yep.
this, or the other game was like, you know what? Like this, I made a few mistakes this game, but we had a really good comp, but I was able to come back, right? That is actually just a skill in itself that isn't talked about enough. So I think that's
Yeah.
actually what I would want you to focus on. Just think about the type of game you're in and what your job is, and then also same thing here. I really want you to look at the matchup as well and really think about okay, in a big picture, high level, what do I want to do in this matchup?
Yep. What's the optimal outcome of this matchup?
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
No, no, that's a great point. I guess I think I think I fundamentally understand okay, well my job is like not to do this, but I feel
Yeah.
like maybe I get into the game, especially like if I'm not like 100%, it's hard to go into the
Yeah.
game with the mindset of being like, okay, well I just want to sit back and prevent this guy from like clear waves really well and
Yeah.
just like prevent this guy from roaming. It's
Yeah.
like I think I get into the game and I'm just like, okay, I just need to win lane kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
um no, I really do appreciate that. I think that helps a lot.
Awesome. Do you have any questions or anything you want to ask me?
Um, no, I'll DM you if something comes up. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Thank you for coming by. Let me